Are we live?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. We're here today. Sorry. I'm Jody, not Sue, and we're here today with Zibby Owens for the Inside Scoop. Thanks so much for joining us, Zibby. I know you've had a crazy morning too. Um,
My
so
pleasure.
Yeah. So today, also, let me just a little bit about Zibby. She is the CEO of Moms Don't Have Time To, which is a media company, and she's got a couple great podcasts out, a new book that I think we're going to talk about a little later that also is Moms Don't Have Time To. And she is kind of all over the place. I love one of the descriptions. She's a book influencer. She's, in fact, I don't know how you have time to do anything, but I'm excited to find out. So, but what I loved most of all when I was reading through the things is one quote, and I wanted to actually start by asking you about it, that above all, like the thing that runs through everything that you do is this idea of encouraging women to carve out time, to engage in reading, to find pleasure in the pages, and to make time to even talk about books. And I just want, I want to know if you want to talk a little bit about that, that origin stories or how you put all these things together, and then we can go from there.
Well, I've been a huge reader my whole life. I love to read. I feel like books have been sort of the flashlight leading me through life. And I have always been really passionate about sharing great books and great articles. And I get really excited about everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to read this or you have to do this. And I ended up starting this podcast kind of on a whim. Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And it's all grown from there. I didn't know how much I would just completely love interviewing authors. I thought so. I mean, I started writing authors like fan letters when I was a kid, and then ended up at the Plaza having tea with this author who I'd been a pen pal with for many years. Anyway, when I was 12 or something. So I have like a long history of this, but I just love doing what I'm doing. And then now that I've gotten to know all the authors so well and the industry more, it's led me to all these other channels and doing all these other things that have just become natural outgrowths, basically, of my love of reading and my enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, I'm sorry, because I got a little distracted. Your bookshelves are color coordinated behind you?
They are. Yes, here, I'll show you. Around. Yeah, here, I'll try to move this.
It's like the feng shui of your library or something. That's
wow. I actually did it myself. This whole back wall, I had COVID in February and I was in bed for 9 days. And the first day I was like strong enough to get out of bed. I came in here. I hadn't been in this room the whole time. And I started with one shelf and I was like, okay, I think I'll just, whatever. And then next thing you know, I was like, I'm doing the whole thing. And I could hear my husband from the other room who I still couldn't see being like, don't overdo it, conserve your energy. And I was like, I have energy for the first time and I have to do it. So I did.
And I love that the first thing you did was rearrange your books once you felt well enough. So
right. Yeah. I'm so weird. I'm like,
no, I think it's great. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about we're going to get back to your book here, but we also talked about how this is Mother's Day week or whatever. So how are you going to celebrate Mother's Day? What are your plans?
I am trying to figure that out. I have this bad habit of changing plans all the time. So I'm divorced and remarried, and I don't actually have my kids this weekend. For whatever reason with scheduling. So my current husband and I are planning on taking a little trip, but I might cancel it and stay home and see my kids for an hour. So I'm debating what to do. I'm either going to go and have like a nice fun time, or I'm going to stay and hang out, and I don't know. But either way, I'm going to, do a lot of reading and writing and hanging out with my husband.
I think you've just hit at this whole thing about like choices or, there's no, every choice has a great side to it. And then, that is by definition, it's like, there's always the yin and yang or the duality of it. But you also have talked just about how Mother's Day can be really hard, and especially this year may be really hard, because of the pandemic and loss. And I know you've had some personal experience with that as well. So.
Yes, I'm worried about my husband and his sister. I was talking about it with him the other day. I'm sorry, they lost their mom, my mother-in-law, in this like sort of horrific 6-week illness. even though she was completely healthy, and her mother passed away and gave it to her. Anyway, it was a whole nightmare, and it's their first Mother's Day without her. And, I want to be really sensitive to that. And my husband was sort of like, look, I celebrated my mom every day. Like Mother's Day, yes, we gave her a little something, but he's like, I have no regrets. Like every day I treated her like it was Mother's Day.
Making you cry.
Right? It's like so sad.
Yeah, it's still, you're right. But marking time, I mean, I think it, everybody talks about that it is very, it's just different. So, and I think that's also where, we're kind of in this sandwich thing where we are mothers, but we have mothers, so it is really, again, it's the balancing and how do you do that? So, but you did say we're going to get back to books. So as we get to Mother's Day, I heard you might have a few great suggestions for, book ideas for gifts for Mother's Day. So, because we were talking yesterday about our whole idea, one of our Mother's Day's hacks is that maybe we should all just say what we want and then we won't be disappointed. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a win-win if we tell our family, hey, I really want this, and they can get it for us. So if you can kind of, help us along with that. And I should say also, if anybody's on and if you have any questions or thoughts or, please chime in and we'll bring you into the conversation. So anyway, go ahead.
Books for Mother's Day. I'm looking on the floor because there were literally 12 books that came out today that I've read recently, and they're so good. First one, which I'll recommend, is called Let's Talk About Hard Things by Anna Sale, who's the host of the podcast Death, Sex, and Money. And this is great because she does touch a lot on grief and also how to support other people through grief, but also how to talk about like tricky things like finances. And, there's just so much in a lot of her personal memoir-ish things, but she interviewed tons and tons of people for it. So I really enjoyed that. And, it has a flower. So there you go. You're sending your mom flowers. Let's see. What else can I recommend that's on the floor? This is really good. Sorry, I should have had these on my desk. Ruby Falls by Debra Goodrich Royce. This is like a Hollywood glamour, almost mystery with mental anguish, and it's immersive, and it's a kind of read that your mom will read or your friend or whatever and not want to stop reading it until they figure out like what's going on. It's and she's a great writer, so that's good. And then if you want a range of things, this book just came out, The Penguin Book of the Modern American Short Story, edited by John Freeman. So for anyone who enjoys short stories or who doesn't perhaps have the attention span for a full novel, that's another one. And then here, I'll give one more recommendation, When the Stars Go Dark by Paula Mclean.
Yeah,
so good.
Cleveland, so she's a local girl. So
okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So those are a few.
We just had someone in the comments ask if we could please post a list of these books later, so I'll get those. The answer to that is yes. We will make sure that we do that. So yes, thank you. But there's another book that I think might be a good read.
Yes, I'll recommend my own book.
Let's go. A little, humble bragging is always in order, right?
Humble brag. Moms Don't Have Time To, a quarantine anthology. This is my anthology, but it's with 60 essays, more than 60 essays by authors who have been on my podcast. And they're really, really good essays. I have to say, I really want people to read, like, not because I edited it, but they're beautiful essays, and they're on 5 topics that moms don't have time to do: eat, breathe, have sex, work out, and should I say breathe? What am I forgetting? How can I've done so many discussions about that. Read, have sex, work out, eat, and breathe. And the essays are very relatable, and they're literary in nature and beautiful. So I would recommend this because
I have to say I actually had a chance to read a few, and not to put you on the spot, but you're one, The Weight of It All. I think it was just I think it's, and do you mind if I briefly summarize it? It was just
yes,
kind of how some weight battles and thinking about it, and how we do focus on our body image, and then being in the pandemic, and how with your kids, it was really I just thought that I could I just got in there with you and I could be there, so it was really great. So
thank you.
So I gotta ask this question because you know, with this title, how do you know, what is your philosophy, or how do you have time? I know you said, you know, you always have a book nearby, but how do you make this happen? So.
I was literally up at like 1:30 in the morning last night being like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot fit all this in. I think I've taken on a little too much. I work a lot. I mean, and it's because I don't feel like it's work. I really love it, but there can be too much of a good thing. But the basic answer is that I work really quickly. I read really quickly. I write really quickly. I type quickly. Like everything I do, I can do really efficiently and quickly. And I get super focused and I just do it, bang, bang, bang. And then when I have an idea, I just do it immediately. So that's a good or a bad thing. So
Right.
I don't know, but how do I do it? I have a team. Like I have 2 full-time people helping me with my business now, and a couple other part-time people. I have help with my kids. I mean, I don't know. I'm viewing it more like I'm a CEO of a company, which I am. But like, would I feel better if I was in an office or something? But I don't want to be in an office. I want to be here with my kids. So they always know, unless I'm doing like a live thing, they can come in. So I don't know. I bring my laptop and sit on their beds while they're playing, and I read books while I put them, while they're falling asleep, and they watch TV, and I am on doing emails. And so I'm very portable. Everything I do, I can move places. And I'm just doing the best I can. And, I think I'm hitting a place where it's the emails that really get me. Because that takes like the whole day, anyway.
I know some people where we work could relate to that it just kind of stacks up and it gets overwhelming, but right. We do the best we can, and that's all you can do. So, but in terms of reading specifically, like what do you say to people? Because you've said that this is, for you, and I think some of us are, just trying to carve out play, especially for moms, to find these things. Like, what are some of the advice that you'd give for, the rest of us who are like, we're just trying to find 10 minutes to read? And I'm sitting here, I honored you today. I brought my book with me to my desk so that if I had a few spare minutes, I could read. But, what is your advice for that?
I think just fit it in at different parts of the day. This is at least what's worked for me, but I don't know if this works for everybody. But there are points in the day where I'm like, okay, this is when I do this, right? Like similar to like I've made it, I guess, more or less into a habit, right? This is when, here are times of the day that I read. I'm sorry, I'm not being very articulate today. I like to, every so often, a couple times a week, I go down to the gym in my building on the elliptical machine, and I read the whole time, and I hold the book in front of me. So I'm kind of like working my core and reading at the same time and doing the elliptical. So I do that for like 45 minutes a couple times a week. And that's a lot of reading that adds up. I always read while I'm waiting for the kids to fall asleep, the little kids. I have 4 kids. So the little guys take a while, and they like me nearby and blah, 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 like in and out. So whenever I start bedtime, I bring my book, I read a book to them, and then they know, like, what are you reading? And we talk about my book, and, I'm hoping that it like eventually like inspires this love of reading, but who knows? And at the least it like involves them in what I'm doing. Cause then I can say, guess who I interviewed today? It's, the woman who wrote that dragon book you liked or something. Right. I also try to do some books that they like, so they think it's cool. So I read while they fall asleep. I read before I fall asleep every night. And I listen to audiobooks while I walk my dog. Or if I drop my daughter at school and I walk home, I'll listen to an audiobook on the way. If I have a long drive, although audiobooks are slower for me than regular books, because I read so quickly and I can't like listen very quickly. And some books I read at my desk, right? Books that I have to prepare. I just sit at my desk and I read them, and I underline and I turn the pages over when there's something interesting. And I read a lot in the mornings. Sometimes I let the kids go on their iPads. And so,
So I was going to ask, do you think, are you a TV watcher at all, or like a doom scroller like the rest of us, or?
No, I don't watch TV anymore. Every so often I'll watch a movie with my husband or something, or we'll get into a show, and then like I watched the whole thing, like the whole series in like a weekend. But TV is not really a part of my life.
Okay.
Right now, this whole thing is my whole life.
Right.
Maybe is too narrow, although it's so interesting. So, no, I don't doom scroll. I am on social media a lot because I post a lot and I really love Instagram, and I like to stay on top of what people are doing, particularly authors who've been on my podcast, because I sort of view them as this whole community. Like once they've been on, I like want to root for them, and I don't know.
Right. So, well, that's so funny. We just had another comment in here who actually somebody who works with us. She said, "I know Zibby is busy, but is she looking for new friends?" So,
that's funny.
But what was I going to say? So my other question is, I have to ask this: are you one of those people? Do you ever read the end of the book before you're finished, or no? Are you straight through?
I'm straight through. Sometimes I skim through parts on my way to the end, but I don't ever skip to the end.
Okay. So good. So you are patient. You are quick and you are patient, which is a very.
Well, I just don't think it would make enough sense if I didn't know what was coming before it.
Okay, but you don't get to that point and you're saying, "Oh my gosh, I got to know what happens. I'm going to check this out."
No.
Okay. Good on you. Okay. So. I want to talk too about and you talked already about how your books kind of intersect, with your parenting and how you're trying to instill, as we leave the read aloud, like when you're reading to your kids and you're reading with them, do you have any other thoughts, because we have a lot of, our kids with teens is what we really focus on, but, how do we foster older kids, love of reading or even reading, especially because there are so many distractions now?
I mean, I have twins who are almost 14, so I understand this challenge and this demographic very, very well. One thing is not to judge what they're reading. So they don't have to read literary fiction or anything. Like my son loves to read graphic novels, and I'm like, great, read a graphic novel. My daughter prefers to read, J14 magazine, but I'm like, whatever, read it. Like read a magazine, read whatever you're interested in. If it's reading, it helps. I mean, my little guys the other day were like, they were reading on their iPads. Like, they're like, what does this spell? And it was, I'm like, you're like, should I allow this in preferences? And I was like, at least they're reading,
Right.
But yes, I mean, fostering reading in teens is tough. I like this subscription to Audible because I was like, why don't you listen to audiobooks? He goes to boarding school. I'm like, do this in your spare time, but he wants to play video games. So
yeah, I
don't know. I keep sending him books, and when he's here being like, what about this one? And I take them to bookstores all the time. Like on the weekends, that'll be our adventure. We'll get the car out and go to Brooklyn and check out Bookstore Magic, or so I keep them around books a lot. But I try not to pressure them. I feel like anything I pressure them to do, they don't want to do. So it's such a tricky.
Right. You don't want it to backfire, but you also want to make them, model it and see it. It's funny because I used to, when my kids were younger, I would go to the library and I would bring home stacks of books and I would just put them by their beds and, just think that something would stick. And sometimes and again, so.
Well, I think letting them pick, I tried that did not work for us, but I've taken them to libraries, and I used to go to Barnes and Noble with them on our way home from school and let them roam around. And, that was one of the only things that didn't count as a gift. I used to be super strict. You only get gifts on,
mm-hmm.
on your birthday or the holidays. And I've gotten so bad and so lax in my guilt over working so much, I think. Mm-hmm. But, anyway, but books didn't count. You could always get a book if you wanted a book, within reason. So that I tried to do that, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you considered, because with your kind of some of the book clubs and the things that you do, have you considered even kind of any parent teen or any kind of, group, because you talk about, being a champion of books and a community builder, and, book clubs are so hot, such a thing that we grown-ups alike. Have you, what about the idea of maybe, teen book clubs with parents or anything?
I like the idea of getting kids involved in reading. I don't know that they would want to do that. I don't think my kids, I don't know. I have thought about this though. And what I wanted to do was start a Goodreads for teens. And I actually talked to Goodreads about it, and they were like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm like, I could do it. I like had this whole vision. And I like that, TikTok now is turning into book talk. Like, that's so great. That's probably the best way, is that the other teens who are cool are getting kids to read. I mean, that's really, they don't want to hear from their parents.
I was just going to say, we've lost any influence we had. We've, it's harder to use now, but.
Yeah. So I guess, I was going to do a subscription business. Like, I actually tried launching that a couple of years ago or 2 years ago, and that had like a teen book component to it. And I don't know. But I think kids are really into podcasts. I think trying to get them to listen to more podcasts about books, like not mine necessarily, but books targeted for them. And I think it's more getting these, book fluencer teens, getting on the bandwagon and, recommending more books, Bookstagram for teens, all of that would be more helpful, I think, than being in a book club with mom.
Yeah. Although I do feel like sometimes, or even reading it, reading an article together and being able to discuss it or whatever. I mean, at certain points it works, but you're right. It really depends on the timing, the situation, the kid you have, and everything else. So, so you've got your two, you kind of are, I don't want to say in the beginning, but you've got your teens now. So what are you finding, has surprised you, or, just as a mom of teens, what are the things that you feel like you either weren't or were prepared for? So,
I feared that they wouldn't want to be with me anymore from all the stuff I had heard. So I'm surprised and delighted that that's not the case. We have kind of like a scarcity model in our house because there's so many kids and one me, and then, they go, I'm remarried, so they have a stepdad, and they have their dad on some weekends, but it's like, there's always like this fight over me in a way. So I feel like they're not ready to relinquish that quite yet. So perhaps that's my theory, but anyway, so I'm surprised that, they still want to hang out and care what I have to say. That's nice. What am I surprised by? I somehow just wasn't ready for their clothes to be like my size clothes. Like, my daughter was wearing
Did she take your clothes?
My sweatshirt was like, he's like, isn't that your mom's like Aviator Nation sweatshirt? And she was like, I don't know, it just showed up in my closet one day. And I was like, well, obviously it's mine, so, so I know logically that they grow and they can fit in your clothes. But, I was even the other day trying to give my daughter, she had a headache or something. And I was like, oh, let me get you some Motrin. And I went and grabbed the children's Motrin. And I looked on the back and I was like, oh my gosh, this ends when you're 92 pounds. I can't give you children's Motrin anymore. You're a grown up. So it's just hard for me to sometimes switch how I think about it. We don't shop for them at the kids' stores anymore. She wears my daughter wears a small, or it's just but she's like a woman. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah. So, or wait until, I don't know, my daughter once, she'll love that I'm telling the story, but she came into my room once to get something on. I said, what's that for? It's ugly sweater day, Mom. I needed something.
Oh no.
So at least your kid, sometimes she'll wear something for not, but so, there is also that where you maybe become the really unhip mom. So,
that's true. My daughter had to wear yellow to school for God knows what reason. And of course we had no yellow in the house. And I was like, wait, I have this one yellow cardigan, a nice Jacob cardigan. And she was like, ugh, no.
I know. They're so kind, aren't they? They are so kind. All right. Okay. Well, Zibby, I really appreciate. And again, if you could just hold up your book one more time, because, you can have us all at the title. I think we all can totally relate to this Moms Don't Have Time To. And as I've said, if we'll put the other books up in the chat later, but if you're looking for,
here are the other books too. I can just hold them up here.
Okay.
Paula Mclean, John Freeman's short stories, Debra Goodrich Royce, Ruby Falls, and Anna Sale, Let's Talk About Hard Things.
Yeah. So if you're looking for, or if you're looking to tell somebody what a great Mother's Day gift, if you're a mom, or if you're looking for a great Mother's Day gift, here are, there we go. Here's a good 5 that, that will we'll get you, from our book expert today, who will get you bonus points, right? So in the meantime, I hope you have a happy Mother's Day, whatever
You too. What are you doing for Mother's Day?
I am actually about to head down to Florida to help my parents pack up, and I will be driving them home. So I will be having a lot of good quality time with them in the next few days.
That's nice.
So I'm kind of switching roles. I'm going back to celebrate, and we will see. We will see exactly what my house looks like when I get home, what kind of Mother's Day present I'll get from my kids when I get home next week. So so we shall see. But anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So, all right. Well, anyway, thank you so much to Zibby, and we will see you guys again. We'll be back tomorrow with Coffee with Jen and Sharon. So, and again, happy Mother's Day, and thanks for all that you do to bring books to get us into our reading. So, all right.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.